We'll get started. I think it's recording, right? Are you able to see if it is recording?
Yes, it is recording.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Om. 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 Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Vritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusantatami Bhagavad Gite Bhavatveshinim नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचानूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. So sorry for the few minutes late here. Welcome everyone. So we are in that section of the 11th chapter where you see Arjuna looking at literally the whole universe with a very, very different perspective. So what we saw earlier was really a kind of a matter bundle revolving in this live, vibrant body of the Lord. But after this change in Arjuna, which we said earlier, where he really goes through, he has a Divya Chakshu with that divine eye. Arjuna now goes through amazing level of emotions because on and literally he we talked about last time how he goes through the Vismaya, Ashcharyam, the wonder, and all this he's going through it. And we are continuing on today to complete that whole section of that emotions that he's going through. And all of them are really in that extreme level, is what we've been seeing. So today I thought I'll just open up to you if you have any questions for reflections. If not, we can continue to move on. Any thoughts on what we have covered so far? Okay, if not, we'll continue. So in Shloka 19 is where we kind of was leaving last time. We saw that, he sees, it is a sense of wonder that he sees. So in the Shloka, he's actually talking about how he's unable to see. I mean, everything seems to be um, just continuous. There is no beginning, there is no middle, there is no end. And then he talks about, how he's seeing the sun and the moon and everything. So all this, he begins to see that transformation in that cosmic form. It actually shifts from something which was very pleasant before, and now, he sees something quite different in this Vishwarupa. So he says this Anadi Madhyantam Ananta Viryam Ananta Bahum Shashi Surya Netram Pashyami Twam Deepta Hutash Chavaktram Swatejasa Vishwam Idam Tapantam. So he sees, there's no beginning, there's no middle, there's no end. And then Ananta Bahu Shashi Surya Nitram. Ananta Bahu meaning that he sees all these arms and legs and everything. So it's not as if, there's millions of arms or anything. It's just that you see the divinity expressed in all those arms and legs. So that's the mental transformation that by Arjuna going through it, we are also going through it. We are also asked to look at the entire world not as if it's fragmented, but actually as that it is the Ishvara in and through everything. And then Shashi Surya Netram, it is not as if it is, the sun and the moon are there to bless us or anything, but actually they are our eyes. So this is the interpretation. They are our eyes through which the whole world is actually being seen here. So that's what I meant by saying Shashi Suryam. They are, of course, Surya Shashi means moon and Surya means sun. And it is only because of our eyes we are able to bring things to light, right? Without that, it would have been very hard for us to even know what is going on. So, in that sense, it's one of the most important organs. And this is what he's trying to say in this in one of the very first Vedanta texts, Tattva Bodh, it talks about how for each one of these five sense organs, there is a Devata. Like Varuna Devata is the Devata for the taste, and Surya is the Devata for the eyes. So that is the interpretation. It's only because of eyes things can be seen here. And then Deepta Huta Shavaktram, here we are looking at Agni or the fire Devata, which is the presiding deity of the mouth. And this is important because we have to ensure that whatever we talk has to be sweet, has to be something which is something that is not hurting anybody. So here we are praying to that Agni Devata for giving that vak, Deepta Uta Vak Chavatram, you know. And then the word Siva Tejasa, which we saw is, Arjuna sees this fiery mouth of the Lord, and therefore he's frightened, and he kind of turns his eyes away. And here, Arjuna, this is to say that, that the power of that infinite, that radiance, Svatejasa, there's so much amount of radiance. That is what we need to look at. Svatejasa, Vishwamidam Tapantam. So that heat which is coming from the sun, even this one, all that belongs to ultimately that Ishvara. So that is what he's trying to show, the various forms. All this Arjuna is able to see in the Lord in front of him. So we started, last time we had again this small disturbance where I had to move my things. So we kind of was moving from 19 to 20, and then today we'll finish the whole thing. And so now in 20, he starts to talk about the other aspects. So dhyava prativyo radimantaram hi vyaptam tvayakena dishashta sarvaha Drishtvad Rupamugram Tavedam Lokatrayam Pravyatitam Mahatman. So the dynamism that we saw before, it transforms into now even more kind of fearful ones, So the fear is actually not in the form. So, suppose I mean, again, I'm in Kerala where you can see, of course, sometimes once in a while, a snake moving here and there, So it's not as if there is the snake is fearful. It's there in my mind. It's up to me on how I'm looking at the snake, right? Or I'm looking at the lizard in front of me. So this fear literally is about me creating the duality within myself. So absolute fearlessness is where we are hoping to go to, and that is a non-dual state that we want to really achieve. So here he's just trying to show that the heaven, Yava Prativyaha, the heaven and the earth are indeed, you know, and indeed the intermediate space. So it's not, again, if you think about it, our eyes are focused many times only in the objects in front of us. Are we at any point looking at the space in front of me? So, in some ways, the shloka is trying to address this fact of the oneness which is there, the oneness which takes into account all the not the material objects, but also the space in between. So, the heaven and the earth, and indeed the space in between, idam antaram hi, in the middle part of it, in between. What is it? It is pervaded by you, O Ishvara. Vyaptam tvaya ekena dishaha cha sarvaha. So, uh, all directions and in all the space, it is you and you alone. That is why he's saying, Drishtva adbhutam rupam ugram tava idam. So, by seeing this, Drishtva, by seeing adbhutam, this um, adbhutam rupam ugram, so this, I'm seeing this strange fearful form. The three worlds are struck with fear, O exalted one. Lokatrayam, three lokatrayam, pravyatitam mahantam. So, they're struck by this fear. So he's basically, again, it's Arjuna's projection in his own mind in how this whole thing is being looked at. So in Vishnu Sahasranama also we have Pada Vyasvanabir with Chandasuryo Chanitre, that shloka, right? So all that Vishnu Sahasranamam or even Purusha Suktam, in all this, if I can just close my eyes and visualize how big or how great the form of Ishvara is, that is what Arjuna is seeing right now in the Lord. He is not seeing, no more is he seeing Krishna, but he's seeing the entire world the way it is. Okay. And ekena dishashta sarvaha, meaning that the whole thing is pervaded by you in all the 10 directions. 10 directions meaning the 4 main directions we have: north, east, west, south, right? And then the in between, we have the northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, all that. So that's the 8 directions. And then up and below. So all the 10 directions. So there's nothing, it's the entire 3D effect, Everything is nothing but, he's saying, is nothing but pervaded by you and you alone, O Krishna, And idam adbhutam rupam, he's saying, I'm able to understand this now, this wonderful form of yours, which was there before. But before, I could not enjoy this wonder because I was always looking at the world from me and me alone. So we talked about last time also, how the world is really much, much, much more than what we are able to comprehend. So the 11th chapter is really exposing us to look at the universe beyond what you and I can see. We tend to divide the world into, or we tend to compartmentalize based upon our own likes and dislikes, right? Uh, I want to see only this, I don't want to see that. And I want to experience this, I don't want to experience the other one. I want to taste this, I don't want to taste the other one. So this is why in our own traditions and rituals, we sometimes are exposed to things like, for example, even during Diwali time or something, we take something bitter. There's so many, all kinds of rasas, there are all kinds of forms. All this, the idea is that I need to really experience everything. So therefore, adbhutam, at the same time, Arjuna is, just seeing this whole thing. So, and Ugram Lokatrayam Pravyan. And therefore he adds Adbhutam and Ugram. It is wonderful, but it is also frightening. So Ugram means, really it's Bhayakaram. I'm seeing this terrible destructive force of yours. And oh Lord, Lokatra, the whole world is frightened. If you're afraid of one thing, but imagine if we have gone through quite a few, I would say, starting with, I'm just thinking, when 9/11 happened, did we ever expect something like that to happen? And after 9/11, we had the tsunami, or I don't know if tsunami came first and 9/11 came later. So we have, then we had the tsunami, then we had the COVID. I mean, all these things are some things we just could not have expected any time to happen. Uh, I would say, in a more kind of something which affected us and made us feel sad. But on the same line, look what is happening in India right now. You know, this entire Kumbh Mela, Maha Kumbh Mela, which is happening only once in 144 years, right? um, the number of people who have gone there, the number of people who have experienced this beautiful, great Mela. I mean, that is also an adbhutam, right? It can seem very frightening or whatever, or frightening not from a negative way. I'm saying, oh my God, how come so many people are able to see this? I mean, it's unimaginable to even think that it's happening, but yet it is happening. So these are some really, we don't pay attention to all these great wonders, the great things that is happening. And all these are happening. We just have to recognize that that is all even part of the world. And then in Shloka 21, now, earlier in the Shloka 20, for example, we see he's talking about the three worlds and everything. Now he's really talking about all the deities which are arising out of this Ishvara's cosmic form, and how not only they arise, but they also go back. Just like the analogy which is given is about the waves in the ocean. Just like the waves arise from the ocean, they go back. So all this, he's going to talk about here. He talks about actually three types of people. He talks about the ignorant, or not he talks about, but Arjuna in general, over the period of Bhagavad Gita, he has talked about in different chapters also, how, there are people like the ignorant, then the people who are the seekers, and then there are the people who are the great realized masters. And here, he's trying to show how all these individuals and seekers are dissolving into Ishvara, but it's only the seekers who are really singing the praises of Ishvara, because they know that ultimately that is their goal. You know, the ignorant people, um, of course, they're also seeking things, but they're seeking things which are so temporary that it blinds them and doesn't and prevents them from looking at that infinite goal, right? So in this shloka, he talks about how, the realized masters, the siddhas, and all of them are just praising the greatness of Ishvara. So he says, Amihitvam surasanga vishanti, Amihitvam surasanga vishanti, Kechid bhita pranjalayo grananti. केचित् भीता प्राञ्जलयो गृह्णन्ति स्वस्ति स्वस्तित्युक्त्वा महर्षि सिद्धसङ्गाः स्वस्तित्युक्त्वा महर्षि सिद्धसङ्गाः स्तुवन्ति त्वां स्तुतिभिः पुष्कलाभिः स्तुवन्ति त्वां स्तुतिभिः पुष्कलाभिः. So he's saying, Amihi Tvam Surasangha Vishanti. So here he's trying to show it's literally this next step in the transformation process of the cosmic form, this result of the fearfulness, which we saw in the previous verse. So what happens when fear is aroused? There are essentially two distinct responses. One is the person just bends, totally. He's like Sashtang Namaskar. He bends before that person. Since he cannot really, conquer that fear element, he tries to surrender to it. So this response is one thing. And the usual way of surrendering is to really sing the praise of this super, and that is what we are seeing in this shloka here, which is Amihi Tvam Surasangha Vishanti. So he's saying, into you, O Krishna, I'm seeing that the host of devas, Sura Sangha Vishanti, they enter into it. Struck Kechid Bhitaha, and some supplicate you with joint palms. So some people are really afraid, some people are really completely surrendered to you. Kechit Bhitaha, some people. And Pranjalaya Grinanti, they surrender to you. Swasti iti uktva. May it well. All these siddhas, they're singing the glories. They're saying, swasti or bhadram, bhadram karne be, all let there be auspiciousness. That is what these groups of great sages are singing. Stuvanti tvam stutibihi pushkalabhi. They offer the praises to you through the sublime hymns. So again, trying to show the evolution. you know, while there may be some people who are afraid, but there are others who are constantly singing your praises. You know, so Surasanga Ami Vishanti Tvam. So these are just trying to say that there are different type of people. They respond to this Ishvara, to this Vishwarupa Ishvara. You know, the enlightened people are these people who, of course, they have nothing more to do, nothing more to say. They are just in awe, they're in wonder, they're grateful for being blessed as a human being. And so the mind is always filled with only the bhajan, of the Lord. And Kechit Bita Pranjalayo Grananti. So we really, so it all depends upon the maturity of people. So there are some people, they approach not out of admiration or devotion, but they are out of fear. So when you see something, the the Bhayankara form of the Lord, there could be two emotions that can rise. One is this fear, whereas there are other people who can even look at that fear, some form of the Lord, and be completely surrendered to that. So we have seen in our stories, right? Um, Prahlad's story, correct? Narsimha. Narsimha comes as such a fearful form, but then Prahlad is not afraid of him. So he just completely, surrenders. So who are those people who completely surrender and who sing praises? They are the Siddhas. They are the ones who are the enlightened people, and they're Maharishis and Siddhas. Siddha means also great rishis, and they are great rishis who have got lot of powers, great siddhas. And so they also praise, saying that, swasti, let there be swasti, let there be auspiciousness, let there be mangalam, let there be bhadram. So that's all they wish for everyone. So while Arjuna is really experiencing all this, a question may arise in our minds. Is this experience of Vishwarupam that Arjuna is going through, is that only for him? Is this really not available for me at all? What do you think? Is it really available for us also? And if it is available, why are we not seeking it? And if it's not available, why is that?
Yes, it is available for everyone, but only uh, you know those with the devotion and those with the jnana, only can see.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, everyone else sees their own view of the universe.
Uh, that that's the point that's a very good point that you made at the last. It's we all have our own view of the universe, which is totally driven through this I-ness and minus, correct? I need this is mine. These two things really limits the level of universe that we are experiencing. So my universe is really very, very close to me because my vision is only so much, correct? So and now it's shrinking even more because my entire universe is in my phone. So through this phone, this I can reach the entire universe. But do I really use the phone for what it is potentially capable, which is to bring this phone as a window to the entire universe? No, even then, I limit myself today to things that matter most. So if I, I'm only looking for approbation or acknowledgement for perhaps, whatever I'm writing or what I'm seeing. I'm not going beyond that. So, in many ways, the phone really can be used as a window to access that whole Vishwarupam. But even there, we are not doing it, right? Anything more? So this shloka in some ways is trying to show that, this vision, which is so great, is available for all of us. Let me go back to the shloka. So the vision is so great, but it needs us to get to this level of going away from fear, which also signals insecurity and everything, and going more towards those siddhas and maharishi siddhas, the siddhas and the maharishis who have looked at the world, who have understood what the world really is, who are going beyond the ahankara and mamatvam, and is able to praise the Lord by looking at his manifestations. And they're praising the Lord and they're just wishing the best for everyone all the time. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. That is all the praise that they're doing it. And even for all of us, even by just using that kind of a prayer, and also many other prayers, like in Chinmay Mission, we have this thing called We Stand as One Family, the pledge. Family is not just me and me alone, but family is extended. So from all this, I think the idea is to bring back this point of where we are today. How am I looking at the world and how I should be looking at the world? So it is only through that change in the mindset, change in perspective, that we can actually access that Vishwarupam, which is already available for us.
Hari Om, I don't want to disturb. Is it okay to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. Hari Om, in that slide when you were showing that the sloka 21, where they are saying that it is like stuck with fear, with supplicate you with joint palms. It's like we have to go beyond our senses. We have to go beyond everything. It is like that. It's the way it's coming to the way I'm looking at this verses. It is both Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman. In this Saguna Brahman, in this form, this Lord's form, everything is coming into it. But all the forms we are seeing everything in the Saguna Brahman of this, in this form of Saguna Brahman. But to actually understand what the Brahman is, we have to go beyond the form and understand that we are all inside this form. We are living inside this form. It is mind-boggling. It is not easy for us to comprehend that we are actually living this bubble. There was this movie, some that, what is that? I can't remember. Truman story or something like that. This boy is living in a movie, and the whole movie is like a reality series where this boy is growing up, becoming a student. Yes, and he's growing up, but his whole life is a movie. In the same way, this is like we are in this big bubble where Lord is out. Lord is this whole bubble. We are inside this bubble with the Lord, but we are unable to see that the whole bubble is Lord. It's our upadhis, our vasanas, they create such a strong layer over here that we are unable to see. That's sometimes it is so sad that we are unable to.
Correct. Correct. That is true. So, um, the only way is to drop the I-ness and minus, Vasana is something that has been accumulated for such a long time. But in and through all that, if I expand my vision that every action that I do, it involves more people. So teamwork is very important in and through everything. I'm not doing this by myself, I'm doing it with many people. If I received any promotion or anything, it's not because of me. There's so many other people behind me who's been pushing me. So in and through everything, being grateful and then praying for everybody's health, you know. So all this are the really the mental tools for us to move ahead. So moving ahead now to the next shloka. So previously, we saw Arjuna had heard about Ishvara manifesting as the deities in the universe, right? Now in this cosmic form, I mean, earlier he had only heard about it, like we talked about this. I think it was 10th chapter, Rudras, then Vasavas, all that. Now he's able to see them clearly. That's the big difference, and he's able to recognize also who they are. So they were, I mean, for most people during Arjuna's time, and even now, if you think about it, we worship the deities. We go to the temples, whether it's Devi temple or, Venkateshwara temple, but they were inaccessible for us. But here, Arjuna is able to see all of them, and, he is like ecstatic about what he's going through, So we chant this. Rudraditya vasavo ye cha sadhyaha. Rudraditya vasavo ye cha sadhyaha. Vishveshvino marutashchoshmapascha. Vishveshvino marutashchoshmapascha. Gandharvayaksha गन्धर्वयक्षासुरसिद्धसङ्गाः गन्धर्वयक्षासुरसिद्धसङ्गाः वीक्षन्ते त्वां विस्मिताश्चैव सर्वे वीक्षन्ते त्वां विस्मिताश्चैव सर्वे. So he's saying Rudra, Aditya, Vasavaha, Cha, and those who are the Sadhyas. So sadhyas, and then Vishwe Ashvino Marutascha Ushmapaha. So, and then you have the Vishwa Devas, you have the Ashwini Kumaras, then you have the Marutahas, and the Ushmapaha, and then the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, the Siddhas, the Sangas, they all, so he's able to, the Gandha, they gaze wonderstruck at you, every single one of them being filled with awe. So he's trying to show about how it is not just he who is in awe, but even all these devatas, all these super beings, they are also in great awe of the thing. So Rudras, we said, they're 11 in number, and then Adityas, they are also 12. Then Vasavaha 14, Vasus, we have gone through all of them. They're almost like, in a cabinet. Imagine at different levels, you have, you have the president, and then you have, of course, I'm thinking about the Indian cabinet, the president and the prime minister and everyone. But there you have, of course, all the other cabinet people. So in general, so that is basically what he's trying to show here. And then now in Shloka 23, we saw that before how the deities are responding, not only deities, even the superhuman beings, right? So here we are coming to, here he's referring to how the mortals on the earth, how do they respond to Krishna? Rupam mahatte bahuvaktra netram. Rupam mahatte bahuvaktra netram. Mahabaho bahubahu rupadam. Mahabaho Bahurupadam Bahudaram Bahudram Shakaranam Bahudaram Bahudram Shakaranam Drashtva Loka Pravyatitastataham Drashtva Loka Pravyatitastataham. So, different levels, right? We started with deities, then we started with all the super beings like Rudras, Adityas, everything. And now we are seeing how Arjuna's amazement of how people, on the earth also are behaving. So, Rupam Mahat Te Bahu Vaktra Netram. So, oh, Krishna, with you with your such a grand form, with Bahu Vaktra Netram, with several mouth and eyes, and Mahabaho Bahu Bahu Rupadam. Urupadam, which is, many thighs and feet, and then Bahu Dharam, with several stomachs, and Bahu Dramshtra Karalam, with, so he's really showing this form of Ishvara who appears to be so ferocious. Bahu Dramshtra Karalam, with fearful fangs. Seeing all this, Lokaha, they are disturbed. People are disturbed, and not only are others disturbed, but I also am disturbed by seeing so many different things. So here, in some sense, Arjuna is really showing the form of the Lord in different ways. Rupa Mahate Bahu Vakta Netram, all Mahabaho Bahu Rupadam, Bahu Udaram, Bahu Dramsha Karalam, Drishtva Loka Pravyatitats Tataham. So countless number of names and face, countless eyes, arms, everything, all this he's saying, and he says, I'm really frightened. So then in shloka number 24, Nabhasprasham Deeptamanekavarnam, Nabhasprasham Deeptamanekavarnam, Vyatananam Deeptavishalanetram, Vyatananam Deeptavishalanetram, Drishtva hi tvam pravyatitantaratma, Drishtva hi tvam pravyatitantaratma, Dhritim na vindami shamam cha Vishnu, Dhritim na vindami shamam cha Vishnu. So Arjuna is now, describing really how gigantic this cosmic form looks. For us, gigantic means, I don't know, maybe 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet, But here, his form is such that it literally appears to touch the sky, not just the clouds, but is touching the sky even. So he's great, and he sees infinite in this huge form. He sees all kinds of colors, indicating, this sort of indicates that there is in that Ishvara the potential to create any number of names and forms. Okay. And moreover, he also says, this form has infinite number of mouths, infinite number of fiery white eyes, and infinite number of this fangs, and they all are so it's almost like a very fiery form of Ishvara, and it has really a tremendous impact on Krishna here, on Arjuna. So that is Nabhasprasham Deeptam Anekavarnam. Nabhasprasham, touching heaven also. Deepta Anekavarnam. I can describe you with so many colors here. Vyatananam Deepta Vishala Netram. And you have such fiery red eyes here, fiery white eyes. I'm seeing you, Drishtva hi tvam pravyatitantaratma. I'm really terrified, and I find, dhritim na vindami shamam cha Vishnu. Neither do I have any courage nor any peace, O Lord Vishnu, he says. So on one hand, while he's appreciating this great, wonderful form, and here he's really trying to, ask Krishna, okay, I'm done with this movie, let me go, Which reminds me, I think there's a new movie that has come on the block called Chava. I don't know if you've heard of it. It is about Shivaji's son, Sambhaji, you should read. There's some great reviews about how this movie is. It's really considered to be kind of, I mean, the actual episode where Sambhaji goes through. This is, we just celebrated Shivaji Jayanti yesterday, Chhatrapati Shivaji Jayanti. And his son Sambhaji was also a great warrior, but he was completely destroyed by Aurangzeb. But if you hear about the kind of um, destruction that Sambhaji goes through and the amount he was fighting for the nation, it's just amazing actually to see how much our great forefathers have gone through to protect Bharat at that time, and how grateful we have to be for that. So I know I'm digressing here, but I was suddenly reminded of that gory scenes. I haven't seen the movie, but even just listening to the reviews, I can imagine. But anyway, just he's trying to show, and Arjuna is saying, I'm really not able to take this, oh Krishna. So can we come to a stop? He's trying to say. It's almost like Arjuna has saying, I've had it, Arjuna, to Krishna, you've shown me everything. There is nothing more left. I can only endure so much. So can we just finish? So is what he's trying to say here. Dramshrakaraani, Dramshrakalani, Chate Mukhani, Dramshrakaralani, Chate Mukhani, Dramshrakaralani, Chate Mukhani, Drishtvaiva Kalan, Nalasannibhani, Drishtvaiva Kalan, Nalasannibhani, Disho न जाने न लभे च शर्मा दिशो न जाने न लभे च शर्मा प्रसीद देवेश जगन्निवास प्रसीद देवेश जगन्निवास. So I know reading this shloka sounds really frightening here, because he said Damshra Karalani Chate Mukhani. So the terrible looking teeth which is sticking out of your mouth, I'm seeing this Drashtva Eva Kala Anala Sannibhani. So just by seeing this is enough to remind me of the Kala, of the time, how important is time, of the time of the great dissolution, how everything has to disappear at some time. So on one hand, we saw the great beauty, the great sustaining power of Vishnu. Now we are seeing the dissolution, which, at some point things have to go back. It's like the waves, which comes up, finally it has to die down into the ocean. So disha na jane na labhe cha sharma. I've lost all sense of my direction and really find no comfort at all. Prasida devesha jagat nivasaha. So, oh Lord, please, can you go back to who you were? Can you go back to who I really, really can relate to? Can you go back to how you are mine and me, Can we go back? So that is what he's trying to say, So if you go beyond really what he's trying to show, this imagery of shloka, so we are seeing that Arjuna is coming face to face now with a point of no return. He's completely gone. He's not able to recognize the directions, and everything that he wanted to do, he's like giving up, So that's, we went through, of course, the meanings and all that. But the key thing to remember here is that Kala Nala Sannibhani. So basically, it is the reference to time, that at the end of the day, time is a temporary thing, Time takes away everything. And uh, we have to be conscious about the fact that we are even beyond time. And that is what Arjuna is finally, he recognizes the concept of temporariness with regard to time and space, So he's saying, just, oh Lord, be gracious to me. At least do not open the mouth. Everything is fine. If you close your mouth, can we go back, So we'll stop at this point, because that brings us really to the end of what Arjuna has gone through in terms of his vision. And then from 26 shloka onwards, which we'll do starting next week. I know we have 10 minutes, but if anyone has any questions or any thoughts, we can discuss that. But here, we'll come to a different phase in the whole 11th chapter. Any thoughts or questions?
It's, I don't know whether it's a thought or it's a question. It's something that's just going on around in my head. So Arjuna, he's both amazed, awed at what he's seeing, the beauty of the Lord in the Vishwarupa form, but at the same time, he's scared of the aspect of disillusion. Is that what we are? How do we take that? How do we
Yeah, he's basically seeing all that. He's seeing the creation, sustenance, and dissolution happening in front of him. And in the next section, which we will see from next week, about how he is able to relate, how we will be relating that to the war which is happening. Okay. So until now, he really never thought about that. See, again, it's a question for all of us. We are so used to only seeing the goodness, or everything has to be conducive for us. But the world has both those elements. There's creation, there is destruction also happening, and all these are somehow controlled by time. And that is why that aspect of time is also brought in this last shloka here. So we are exposed to that whole thing through Arjuna, to see everything happening in this world. So he is seeing that entire thing happening in its gigantic form, I would say. That's what he's seeing. I don't know if I explained that. If anybody has any.
Hariom, one question is how to interpret this, like Krishna is showing him the good side, where the whole universe, and the fearful side, of him. So, I mean, how do we interpret? Is it something
Yeah, so the
he
point
wants? He
is,
wants Arjuna to see everything, like just to understand there are all sides in the universe. Is that one way of understanding?
right. So, and not to be judgmental or anything, but, for us, especially living in the United States, right? Sometimes what happens is, like, even when we are talking to our children, we are always saying only the good things that is always happening. Of course, when it is a child, you always have to. We are very. We never want to tell the child that this may go this way, but it may go the other way too in the beginning. We always want to encourage the child. But then that becomes a habit for us, so much so that our mind is shielded away from the, I don't want to say the negative aspect, but the aspect of um, decay that is going on, the aspect of other things that's going on. So in the world, if I recognize that all these emotions are there, all these ways in which things work, I'll be much more mature in my uh, looking at things. Now, as I said, the reason why he's exposing Arjuna to the fearful side of him also, and which Arjuna was not exposed before, is to tell him that, yes, this is also there happening in the world. and we've been kind of blind to it. In many times, we tend to suppress it, or we want to turn a blind eye to things. We kind of keep that away. But here, this is one way of exposing us to the fact that all this is part of the world.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So if there's nothing more, what we'll close, and then for next week, we will actually start the new section. But when we start the new section, we will relate to some of these fearful aspects to seeing, the various characters that we will be seeing from shloka number 26 onwards. Okay, we will actually show Krishna is going to show Arjuna the outcome of the war, and by showing him the outcome where he will see literally all his teachers and all being killed, he would see all that, and that's the whole destruction, and Arjuna has to face it and understand. I mean, again, if you think about it, this 11th chapter is also a great lesson for us to handle our own mental state. We have been so conditioned to accept everything nothing will die, everything will remain the same, all that, which is not true. Things which have to die will die. And now Arjuna will see all that, the destruction happening in the coming shlokas. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.